I'm here to tell you why I feel NHRA made a big mistake at their final race of 2025 and got it wrong. Hello, everybody. How you doing? It is your boy Racing Jack back once again. And let me start off by saying what an unfortunate situation last weekend in Pomona, California. If you're not up to speed, allow me to explain the story to you. It was the final NHRA race of 2025, championships on the line, and boom. Here comes this massive rainstorm in Southern California in November. It's not supposed to do that, but contrary to popular belief, it does sometimes rain in Southern California. Well, this wasn't just a rainstorm. This was a soaker. No pro classes made it down the track. Everybody wondered what would the NHRA do, including yours truly. I knew they were going to be up against it. They had a banquet at a nearby casino scheduled Monday. They had a TV window on Sunday. How is this going to play out? Well, at the end of the day, NHRA decided to totally cancel the event, and championships were decided based on the points you had earned coming into Pomona. I feel this is a huge mistake, and let me say that with a smile on my face because, again, your boy Racing Jack is the dissenting opinion amongst the motorsports media, at least the folks that were there. Let me back up for a second and say, hey, look, this was a raw hand that was dealt. Nobody wanted to see the season end like this. And let me say, first and foremost, everybody is concerned about safety. Safety should be number one. That being said, you cannot tell me this was the best option. And for the NHRA, who is so eager and so badly wants to be recognized as a legitimate sports organization, could you imagine if Game 7 of the World Series rained out and the forecast looked pessimistic for 3 or 4 days and we said, you know what? This year for the World Series, whoever had the better record entering Game 6, you're our champion. Could you imagine if a hurricane hit the Super Bowl and they said, you know what, we're not gonna play the game this year. It's canceled. Whoever had the better regular season record is going to take the win. No, they would never do that. Fans would be outraged because in the spirit of competition, come hell or high water, this race needs to be run. Personally, hey, it's going to cost NHRA a fortune to do it right, and I'll back up, and I think that's probably what this was about, which is right in line with what I have been saying all year, that from a profit and loss statement standpoint, NHRA probably made the best decision available to them. They had talked about waiting a few days, and then they talked about how the sand trap was so wet, and I get all that. I think the easy solution would have been postpone it till this coming weekend. Look at the forecast now, depending on when you're watching this. It's going to be beautiful in Southern California. If you can't get Pomona, move it to Vegas. Do whatever you have to do to finish this championship. Why? Because in an organization like this, to properly build this title to the prestige that it deserves, to ask these racers to travel the country and spend millions of dollars in hopes of winning a championship, you have to make sure that that championship is not tainted in any way. And what the NHRA did this past weekend by simply canceling the most important event of the year, to me, taints the championship. It illegitimizes. I mean, you guys let me know what you think. Now, I want to back up even further because remember, the way drag racing used to work, and I'm a believer that in the spirit of competition and integrity of competition, it should still work this way. Champions used to be crowned on cumulative points from the first race to the final race.
Your final team, Winston, Gary Selzy. There's that Dixon kid again. Selzy blows the motor and watch Dixon in the far lane. Just comes up that much short, and Gary Selzy wins it and the championship.
Are you sure we won the championship?
Positive.
All right!
Yeah, buddy. Oh, man.
Well, then in 2007, NHRA did what NASCAR has done, trying to emulate stick and ball sports, and they started the countdown. Why does the countdown exist? I'll tell you exactly why the countdown exists. There's probably many reasons that we can give. I'll tell you the number one reason. Number one reason is if John Force would go out there and dominate and have a championship locked up by Indy or the race after, that doesn't make the last 3, 4, 5, 6 races very exciting. In stick and ball sports, baseball, football, as you get closer to that championship game, the crowds grow larger, the TV ratings grow larger, and it gets more and more exciting. That's what NHRA wants. They want these championships to come down to the wire. Okay, hey, I'm in favor of it. It's worked out pretty well so far. I think it's much harder, and you're much more respected by your peers to be the person who earned the most points from the beginning race to the final race. But be that as it may, let's do the playoffs. Here's what I tell NHRA. If you're going to do the playoffs, if you're going to put yourself in that situation, you're going to do the countdown, and then you're going to have a banquet the day after, set in stone. You better make sure there's a contingency plan to finish this race. You cannot do this to the fans. You cannot do this to the competitors. So what are some of the reasons that they've been giving right now for why they did this? Oh, it would have cost a fortune for the competitors to come back and stay. Guys, these are the same competitors that have traveled the country all year and spent millions to try to win these championships. One more weekend, I don't think would have bothered anybody. Yeah, you might have got some moans and groans, but here's another thing too. As a sanctioning body, this is not something you confer with the racers on. You are the rule maker. You are the one that makes sure there's integrity in this sport. So you say, hey guys, here's when we're running the race. Next weekend in Pomona, next weekend in Vegas. Guess what? They'll all be there. Everybody who's worried about their championship standing will be there. And if you look at what happened, Mr. Coletta won in Top Fuel. He pretty much had it decided, but there was a tight championship battle in 3 other classes, especially Pro Stock Motorcycle. I'm so happy for Richard Gadson. I've been covering him since he was 14 years old, and I used to announce Pro Star. Dream come true. But I bet Richard would even tell you he didn't want to win the championship that way because he was only separated by 21 points between him and his teammate, Gaige Herrera. That's only a round. Remember, Pomona is 1.5 points. So whoever went further, whoever won that race would have won the championship. But now, because the race was just flat out canceled, we'll never know. And in my opinion, these are championships that are going to be somewhat tainted, not taking away anything from these competitors. I would have liked to have seen Matt Hagan try to have a shot to reel in Austin Prock. Would have liked to have seen Greg Anderson have a shot in Pro Stock Car. And I think in other forms of sport, this is exactly what we would have seen. I just did an interview with Bubba the Love Sponge that you're going to have to see on this channel. It'll be coming. But I just told Bubba, I said, if this is about entertainment, I could never imagine Dana White. I could never imagine Roger Goodell. I could never imagine Vince McMahon. I could never imagine anybody focused on the fans and entertainment deciding championships in this fashion. Was it the best financial decision for NHRA? Absolutely. So then I was reading and listening to some of the rebuttal President Glenn Cromwell had to the Speed Freaks. And one reason he said they couldn't schedule it on an upcoming weekend is because they no longer had access to TV. Well, that's a problem in and of itself. If you can't get a TV partner to come back and publicize a spur of the moment, weather-forced championship, exciting race, then you may have larger problems than we think. But even if that is the case, you have your own streaming platform that this could air on. That's what I would have done. If I was in charge, we would be running the race this weekend in Pomona. If we couldn't run the race this weekend in Pomona, we would run it this weekend in Vegas. It would air for free on NHRA.tv to all the fans if I couldn't get a TV partner to come cover it. And I would hope that I could. I would hope that with the money NHRA spends with Fox, they would have found a way to come out and provide some type of coverage. But guys, it's competition is what drives everything. If you're going to be a legitimate sports organization and not a match racing organization, the championship is what it's all about. And think about this. I know when NHRA introduced gambling, as media members, as crew members, we all have to go through this training to make sure we're not wagering or using inside information. Why? So you don't taint the competition. And that's been my argument all along. That's all I want. That's my big argument in Pro Stock Motorcycle. Congratulations to the Vance and Hines team, because you know what? Gaige Herrera, he took the high road. All these competitors took the high road. Gaige is probably more upset than anybody, knowing that he was only a round win away from his 3rd consecutive championship, but that's also his teammate. And Gaige knows he's got a great life and a great opportunity with Vance and Hines, and he said all the right things. My problem is I just want to see legitimate sport, and if there's one race in the NHRA that cannot be canceled, it is the finals if you believe in the legitimacy of sports. That's where I'm at with the thing. We're never going to cancel Game 7 of the World Series. We're never going to cancel the Super Bowl. And now NHRA had an abbreviated countdown, ended in Vegas without us really knowing it. We never got a chance to see how these championship battles would truly play out. I say run the race on the following weekend. You had beautiful Southern California weather coming. If you can't get to Fairplex, then there's a problem there that we need to talk about as well, because I know they are under some strict rules and strict ordinances, and running races in California is not easy. But if that's the problem, then again, NHRA, you made this bed. You put yourself in this situation. You instituted the countdown. You decided to end the season in Pomona. You've got this banquet. Why is the banquet the day after the season? It doesn't have to be. Yeah, it's sure convenient when things work out, but wouldn't it be more important to finish these championship battles? Wouldn't it be more important to play Game 7 of the World Series, play the Super Bowl? Because I ask you, would any of these championship battles played out differently? They very well might have. That's just my thoughts. And again, boy, I'm rooting for NHRA. I love drag racing. I'm having a hard time with, I think this goes right back to what I was talking about earlier this summer, is what did a lot of my old timers say? Right now, the NHRA board and executive team consists of people who have never been racers, never hung around race shops. It's all guys with their MBAs that are making the best possible financial decision and hanging on to their jobs. But if NHRA is truly for the fan, if they are truly for the legitimacy of the sport, I think this was a major, major mistake, and one that could haunt for years to come and set a precedent. If NHRA is going to pull maneuvers like this, remember, with these self-funded teams that can go where they want and pick and choose, if the championship can be decided in this fashion, how do you tell these teams to go on the Western Swing? How do you tell them to come to every race? A lot of these teams, if they give up on the championship, they've given up on your season. Then they appear at races they want to appear at, and that's a bad situation for the National Hot Rod Association. Here's hoping things get better, but I want to know your opinion. Again, I think NHRA made a big mistake canceling the final race of the year. I would have much rather seen it postponed, and maybe you guys let me know down below in the comments. Maybe there's even a better option. I mean, my goodness, I don't want to wait all year, but I would have rather run these, run a secondary race in Gainesville, Florida at the beginning of the year next year. Anything other than this. This was the most anticlimactic, crude way to end the season that I have ever seen in any sports organization. And I'm sorry, motorsports media, because I know you guys were out there waving the pom-poms and just don't agree with me. And that's okay, because you guys dressed up and had fun at your banquet. Good for you. Awesome. But you know what I wanted to see? I wanted to see championship battles come to a head. So that's my take. Let me know yours down below. Make sure you subscribe in the middle. If you like that video, here's another one for you. And if there's anything fast racing, Racing Jack has got your back.